What's going on, guys? JSGC here, back again for another Manchester City video. Today we're going to be doing my match review, match analysis and match reaction of Manchester City's 2-2 draw away at Selhurst Park against Crystal Palace in the Premier League. So before I do crack on with this video, make sure, like always, if you are enjoying the content, do subscribe to my channel. It is free to subscribe. Social media links, they're in the description if you want to go and follow me on my Twitter, Instagram and TikTok. Email also in the description too if you want to hit me up for any sponsorship for any videos or any general business inquiries. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up. 100 likes is the aim, and do let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Finally, this video is sponsored and brought to you by SofaScore, who are going to keep you guys up to date every single step of the way when it comes to staying up to date with all the latest scores from around the grounds. They're going to keep you up to date with the latest match information, along with the scores, statistics, analysis, and all your good footballing needs. The app isn't just limited to football scores. They've got all the scores covered in all the sports that you guys love to follow, all in one place, all in one app. It's a free app to download, so worthwhile checking out, and anyone that does download using my link in the description or the QR code on screen does help to support the future content created here on my channel. So let's really digest this game and what's happened here, because there's some positives, believe it or not, to take away from this game. There's also some negatives as well. So firstly, we're going back to the problems that we were having a month ago, which is player fitness, player fatigue, and players being able to stay injury free. And it just seems to have been a repeat for Manchester City since September onwards, and we've struggled ever since then. Now, when you're heading into a game and you've got players like John Stones, Nathan Ake and Manuel Akanji all missing at the back, you are going to struggle when it comes to defensive reinforcements. Now, in particular, them three players missing, I feel like Manuel Akanji just needs 3 or 4 weeks off of rest and recovery time, and I reckon he'd probably be good to go for most games for the remainder of the season. We just haven't got the depth to allow us to give Manuel Akanji that rest that would be required to just try and tighten up a little bit at the back. Because of that, and mainly I feel like Man City's defensive problems, there's a couple of reasons I feel like they've come about. Firstly, Nathan Ake and John Stones have been very injury prone this season. Obviously, with games coming in thick and fast, not having much of a pre-season and a tight turnaround between the major European competitions that both these players were playing in the summer into the turn of the Premier League season and back playing very competitive football every 3 to 4 days. It was always going to be the case, and I was amazed that Manchester City haven't taken up the opportunity in the summer just to try and shore up their squad, because the squad is very thin. And when it comes to the depth of Manchester City's squad, well, Pep Guardiola keeps saying that he likes a small squad to work with, yet this season wasn't the season for us to have a small squad. We need good competitive options in the team. You're allowed to register up to 25 players, yet Manchester City, they've been relying on 17 or 18 senior first team players, and the rest of the players made up with academy players. And we're not really, other than Rico Lewis this season, seeing too many of the academy players featuring. We saw Simpson Busse get a couple of games. City then start to concede goals. Everyone starts to get on the back of a young kid, and it's a big learning curve. And Manchester City then defensively are wanting to rely on the more senior players in their team. Players like Kyle Walker, whose pace seems to have left him, isn't really leading by example. He's not given a captain's leadership on the pitch. Manchester City's defence just looked all over the shop yesterday. You've got Rico Lewis playing in defence. Physically, well, let's be honest, he just isn't up to the standard in the Premier League from a physical point of view. In midfield, okay, I can cope with that. He'd be a good option in midfield because he's a very technically gifted player. He's a hard worker. He's a grafter. He'd actually give Manchester City some legs as long as he's got more midfield quality and more midfield runners around him. So I think it would be a good option. But defensively, in terms of the physique, it just can't compete in the Premier League, and he's getting brushed off the ball all too easy, and I don't see how that would change without Manchester City adapting Rico Lewis to become more of a permanent central midfielder rather than a defender. But because we've not got any other options, we've had to go with Rico Lewis. The option was, do you go with Simpson Poussey or do you go with Rico Lewis? Well, if you're putting Rico Lewis on the left-hand side, you've got JWE on the bench, Joshua Wilson-Esbrand. We're not really seeing too much of him so far this season, yet competitively has competed pretty well in previous seasons in the Championship. He's got more experience than Rico Lewis, in particular when it comes to the art of defending and the physique, because Crystal Palace was always going to be a difficult away game, and it was always going to be a very physical battle, so you need your physical players there, and we just haven't got them competitive options available to us. It doesn't surprise me that we've ended up conceding a couple of goals, but how these couple of goals that we conceded came about were very disappointing. Munoz with a nearly well-taken goal for Crystal Palace. Ortega gets a good hand onto it, but can't keep it out. Well, everyone likes to jump down the throat of Ederson. If it was Ederson in goal, everyone would be criticising him, saying he can't save shots. Yet I felt Ortega maybe could have done a little bit better, but the goal came about from a lovely through ball from Will Hughes, good vision to find Munoz, but Man City's defensive line was all over the place. Normally I'm looking at Ruben Dias for the leadership of Manchester City at the back, but Ruben Dias right now in this team isn't Manchester City's captain. We've got our captain playing in defence. It'd be his job to be organising that defence. Yet the defensive line was all over the place, and Kyle Walker was the man who was playing Munoz very much onside to score that goal. It's poor positioning, it's poor play. It's the 7th time this season in the Premier League that Manchester City have conceded in the first 15 minutes, and if we're going to be allowing teams to score first, we're always going to be up against it, and it's a problem that we face time and time again this season. It's not just limited to this poor run of form that City have been doing. This goes straight back to the beginning of the season. In August, we were allowing teams to get ahead, but we had enough quality to come back. Now the squad's stretched thin. We don't quite have that quality. Now, the positive is, I feel like if this game was a month ago, this would be a game that Manchester City would have lost. We didn't. We grinded and we worked really hard, and we've got a hard-earned point. But if we're wanting to win the Premier League, it needed to be 3. And if you go into a difficult game like Crystal Palace away, physically you need to match them. You need to make life difficult, limiting them to very few opportunities, ensuring that you're very tight at the back, and Manchester City are clinical in front of goal. That's how you win this game. I refer to it often. Sometimes you don't want to be playing pretty football. You just need to be able to put one of your opportunities away and back your defence that they can keep a clean sheet. You've got to, if you want to win the Premier League, be able to keep clean sheets and sometimes have an off day and still win games. Win games 1-0, 2-0. And Manchester City, we're actually pretty clinical because we've come away with a couple of goals. Ilkay Gundogan unlucky in the first half to hit the post. Dean Henderson made a couple of really good saves. Manchester City could have scored more, but we scored 2 goals away from home. And I'm thinking to myself, 2 goals away at Crystal Palace, that should be enough for us to win this game. And it wasn't. It was horrific defending from the corner for the second Crystal Palace goal, and I'll tell you what, it's carbon copy of the goal we conceded against Arsenal at the Etihad, where a good ball comes into the box. City just again is a physical problem. Don't know what they're working on in training when it comes to defending set pieces, but bullied in the air. Kyle Walker once more, another suspect positioning from him, doesn't even jump. He's allowed the defender to get on top of him and win the header because the defender wants to win it more than Kyle Walker, and he puts the ball into the back of the net. You've conceded twice away from home. You're going to be struggling to win games when you're allowing such things to happen. Now, City showed really good character. I said before, Dean Henderson made a couple of good saves. I think he'd be disappointed that he came to collect the ball, then backs off and allows Erling Haaland to do a good looping header into the back of the net. Good ball into the box from Matheus Nunes as well, and it's good to see City putting good balls into the box, and Rico Lewis being a little more expressive second half, getting forward, and a well-taken goal for the second goal for Manchester City. So there were some positives for City, and looking at the league table as well for City as well, we sit in 4th place. We know that we're going to be sitting in 4th place going into the next Premier League match day, where we're going to be taking on Manchester United at home. But we've got Nottingham Forest, we've got Aston Villa, we've got Brentford, we've got Brighton, even Fulham, Bournemouth, Spurs, Newcastle, all within 7 points of Manchester City. And if Manchester United end up beating City next weekend as well, they're going to go 5 points behind us as well in the chasing pack for the top 4 spots. So whilst City are teasing the potential of a Champions League spot for a team next season, then teams are going to be raising their game against us. We've got a big game coming up against Aston Villa in a couple of weeks' time as well, away from home, and Man City's form away from home is concerning me a lot. We have really got to tighten up at the back. Now, only other talking point from this game, let's speak about it. The red card for Rico Lewis, I think just about summing up the standard of refereeing, not just in the Premier League, but across all of English football. It's absolutely inept. Rico Lewis wins the ball, and then he is fouled, yet he is shown a second yellow card and sent off. Bit of a flaw in VAR's system. They can't review yellow cards. Because they can't review yellow cards, VAR can't overturn that yellow card decision for Rico Lewis to be suspended. Now, it's a bit unclear as to whether City can appeal that yellow card and have Rico Lewis available for the Manchester derby next weekend or not, but it might be the case that Rico Lewis is going to be suspended for that game. And when we've got very limited defensive options, it's a little bit of a disaster for Manchester City. But if we can get Manuel Akanji fit, and we can have John Stones and Nathan Ake starting to return back to fitness from their injuries as well, then defensively we should be okay. Not sure what it's going to mean for Man City midweek in our away game against Juventus in the Champions League. We'll have to wait and see. I'm waiting for further clarification from Pep Guardiola about the injury status of our players. But right now, players are looking very tired, players are looking very fatigued, and we've really got to start grinding. A couple of big games, Champions League game and a game against Manchester United in the Manchester derby next Sunday. Couple of big games before we get, thankfully, 6 days off before we next play our Premier League game. So there's a little bit of a break there for Manchester City in December, which is a little bit of a luxury, so we need to run a mile with that. But no idea why Rico Lewis was given a second yellow card. It was a real poor decision from the referee. In fact, the correct decision would have been that if Rico Lewis has got to the ball, has been stepped on by Chalobah, it's in the penalty area, should have been a penalty to Manchester City, which VAR can have a look at. Not too sure if the yellow cards could still be overturned. I'm not sure. I imagine it probably could, because it's no longer a foul, so he's got nothing to be yellow carded for. But all round, just very poor, very frustrating afternoon. We've managed to come away with a point, so it could have been worse, but you know, we played a pretty decent game against Nottingham Forest. We finally ended our poor form. We picked up a win. We needed back-to-back wins. We haven't. We've got a win and a draw, so we are unbeaten in 2 games. And we've got a couple of huge games. Our next focus, Champions League against Juventus before the Manchester derby. Very big week for Manchester City. If we can win both of them games, then we'll see where we go from there. But right now, even though Liverpool and their game against Everton was postponed yesterday, we've gained a point on them. We're 8 points behind. We know that Chelsea and Arsenal are playing today, and if they both win, then they're 4 points clear of Manchester City in 2nd and 3rd place, and that's the positions that City want to be targeting towards. So I'd love to know your thoughts, guys. What does City do about this? Let me know in the comments below. So there we go, that has been today's video. If you did enjoy this video, please do leave a thumbs up, get your thoughts in the comments below. Do subscribe if you're new around here, press that red button, press the bell, and put your push notifications on. Social media links, they're in the description if you want to go and follow me on my Twitter, Instagram and TikTok. Email also in the description too if you want to hit me up for any sponsorships for any videos or any general business inquiries. And finally, do go and check out today's video sponsor, which is brought to you by SofaScore. I'll see you all again for the build-up for Manchester City's game against Juventus. So I've been JSGC. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope everyone is safe and well. Peace. Ciao for now.